Pierre's not here, and neither is Morgan, because he's on Fear the Walking Dead. Or shall we say, Morgan's Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah, that's basically what they should have called it. So, AMC, this was actually quite clever on AMC's part. They kind of, they pulled one on us. So they sold us on this whole thing of there being a crossover where it was going to be Morgan going from The Walking Dead to Fear the Walking Dead. And what I've come to realize after seeing that first episode of Fear the Walking Dead is that it's actually a rebranded spin-off where Morgan is leaving The Walking Dead to have his own show, and it's called Fear the Walking Dead. And they're doing that because I believe that they just realized that none of the characters on the show are likable enough by themselves to carry the show.
Especially after seeing the new additions of John Dory and Al.
Yeah, so I mean, here's the thing. Like, I loved Fear the Walking Dead Season 3. I thought it was great. However, I still didn't think the characters were all that likable, and the ratings sucked. The ratings were less for last season than they were for Season 2, even though Season 3 was a better show. And so I think AMC's executives were just like, well, we got to do something drastic to save this thing. And I got to hand it to them so far, even though it's only one episode in, I think they made the right move because they introduced, you know, Morgan coming from the other show and then two other characters, John Dory and Al, which is short for what?
Althea,
who are already...
That's pretty black, actually.
Already like 50,000 times more likable than all of the characters on Fear the Walking Dead. And they also framed them as the bad guys at the end of that episode.
Well, I believe for the next episode that we see, I don't think we're going to see Morgan at all. If we do, we'll see him in one scene because I think they're going to do a flashback showing how the initial Fear the Walking Dead characters got from wherever it was we last saw them to where they are now. I think it's going to be similar to that episode they had with, what's his name? The old dude. And he had like that bottle up and it showed how he got from the fire to...
Oh, Ruben Blades' character.
I keep forgetting his name.
I can't remember. I always remember the actor's name, but not his character's name for some reason.
Well, anyway, I think it's going to be like that episode. So that we're going to see the passage of time in like 40-something minutes. And then they'll end with them being back in the present with Morgan and the rest. Is what I think. But I think rebooting it essentially and making it more of a Morgan show is a very smart thing because even though Morgan has been crazy for most of season 8, he's more likable than the Fear people. Like, no, yeah. I mean, I like Strand and I like Madison when she's in, you know, the same scene as Strand and they're working together. But for the most part, I could take or leave all the rest, including Nick.
Yeah, he's not very likable.
AKA Dirty Johnny Depp.
He got a little bit more likable after like the whole arc with whatever that guy's name who like had the ranch. I forget his name too.
I can't remember. The brothers?
Trey and just Troy and Troy and Jake.
The nice one.
Yeah, Troy and Jake, and then their father.
The old dude.
Yeah, who turned out to be an evil guy who like murdered Indians and stuff.
That's okay though, because he got murdered by Nick.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, these new characters are just like so good so far. I mean, like John Dory's character in particular.
What's the actor's name?
I don't know. He was on Deadwood. I'll put it on the screen. I've actually never seen this guy before.
Is it Frank Dillahunt?
We'll put it on the screen. I had never seen this guy before. I didn't watch Deadwood.
Me neither.
He's a phenomenal actor. I thought it was a really ballsy move to have like the opening of his character to be like a 5-minute monologue with himself. I mean, that's a pretty challenging thing to do. Like, you can't like play off the other person or anything. That is straight just like delivering the lines perfectly.
Oh, but see, it works because he's a comedian. Of course, most comedians are fantastic drama actors.
I know, seriously.
He was actually on that Fox comedy show, Raising Hope, which also starred Lucas Neff, who I went to high school with, by the way. Knew that guy.
Like, within 5 minutes, I already care way more about this guy than like everybody else.
He's so adorable.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to know what happened to his girlfriend with the matching pistol that he made for her and all this stuff. And I want to know like why he's such a good shot and why he's so nice and all this stuff. Like he seems like I feel the same way about him that I felt about Rick in the pilot of The Walking Dead.
I won't go that far.
Like I'm on board. I'm on board with him. Like right away.
I won't go that far. He's adorable, and his loneliness is very touching, and he just wants to make friends.
Really sad scene.
He doesn't want to hurt anyone unless he absolutely has to, and you know, he's just very endearing. John Dory like the fish, except I-E and not with a Y.
Yeah.
He loves popcorn, and he has fresh, clean socks, which is very important.
He also has qualities like just as a human that are rare, I guess, like in the apocalypse. Like that scene where Morgan was injured and he just like needed to see whether or not that guy that he tried to save in the truck had turned into a walker or not. And John Dory shows up and like kills those 2 walkers behind him that were about to take him out. And instead of just being like, dude, you're fucked up, like come back to the truck, he like realized that Morgan like had this need to go see like that walker for some reason, and he like picked him up and helped him.
Well, he didn't pick him up. Morgan let him help him.
Yeah, he helped him walk. He helped him walk over there, which was like, you know, it kind of just shows that he's the type of person who like if he sees that somebody really needs something, he'll like help them do it instead of just telling them that they're wrong.
Also, he really likes Morgan.
Yeah, they've already formed like a bond that is going to be, I think.
Even though Morgan is very, very resistant.
Morgan's a tough sell when it comes to friendship.
I have a friend.
But I think that makes a whole lot of sense though, because the whole reason why he left The Walking Dead was because, like, you know, he said that when he loses people, he loses himself. And he just keeps going crazy over and over and over because of like all the things that have happened. He needs somebody as disarming as John to finally become his friend.
I just think it's funny that Morgan, and then we've seen this before, like continuously, it's always Rick's voice in his head, like no one else.
Yeah.
It's always Rick. You can't run, Morgan. Ha, the hell I can't, Rick. I will run away from you.
Rick tried real hard to keep him from leaving too. I mean
maybe that was Morgan's fear, like if he lost Rick too, like Rick and Carol probably.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, he said he'd lost everything, and then he also said that him and to Rick, you and I are worse than we were before. And it seemed like, and he brought up the whole thing where Rick like murdered all those saviors. I think that was kind of the thing that really like pushed him over the edge, because he started getting really bad after that incident. He was already like kind of bad, but he got like worse.
But not only that, between Rick saying he can't run and Carol's whole "you helped me," like in order for Carol to really get help and come to grips with herself, she had to leave everything that she knew. So Morgan, like, you know, after getting all those visits from people, he decided to leave, like, I have to leave everything. And now he's not killing anymore. Like, he says that to who does he say that to? To John? Or
probably. I mean, he only has conversations with 2 people basically the whole show.
So he's not killing anymore either.
I thought that was just like a phenomenal opening episode. I mean, it was basically flawless. Like the acting was amazing. Like everybody did a great job. It had a great action sequence where like Morgan's like parkering like over rooftops and stuff and fighting with his staff and blowing walkers up with grenades and shit. I mean, it was awesome. Just like all around. Character development was super strong. I mean, they showed once again that it only really takes like a couple minutes to get an audience on the side of a character. It just has to be done the right way with the right dialogue.
It's focusing more on the drama than the theatrics. And
right, which is the thing that made The Walking Dead so popular. They're getting back to the thing. They're using the formula. I'm glad.
There's something to be said about a smaller cast.
Yeah. I think there is something to be said about that.
Ensemble casts are great, but when it's sprawling as much as it's sprawled on The Walking Dead, like it's kind of, I think that needs to take a back seat for a while, and it needs to be focused on just like one area and the drama of people interacting with people. Like everything doesn't have to be a war or a run, or you know, the people interacting with the people is what drew me to Walking Dead in the first place. Like them finding themselves and learning how to survive together is more entertaining to me than a bunch of pew 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 pew.
I mean, you got to remember, like as weird as this is to think about, the first season of The Walking Dead is really like a soap opera about like a guy who wakes up from a coma and doesn't realize that his like police partner is cheating on him, is like having an affair with his wife.
No, that is not soap opera at all. Like, but it's just such an insult.
But that's the kind of thing that you would associate with a soap opera. You know what I mean?
Well, okay.
It was well done, which makes it a drama, and then they added horror and action, which makes it not a soap opera. But like, the point is that I mean, if you were to describe that plot line to somebody, they would never in a million years guess that plot line would be the same, production as zombies. Like, it just doesn't seem like they would go together. But that's what the show was about back then. That's the thing that made the show so popular, was the fact that it's about the people. And, it kind of hasn't been about the people lately. Like, there's no more of those dialogue scenes where they're really deep and moving. But they did it on Fear the Walking Dead just then. And I hope The Walking Dead gets back to that, because I really miss that. And I think the lack of that is a big part of the reason why the show is sort of like, gaining like less viewership and stuff like that. They need to do what's happening in Fear the Walking Dead right now. Character driven. Character driven. I'm really excited to see Fear the Walking Dead this season. I mean, like, I was very skeptical about this when when they said, because we were talking about it like last year, and we were like, oh, it's going to be who would we say that it was going to be? It was going to be like Abraham, but it's going to be in the past or something. Like, we had all sorts of theories.
Not in the past, because Fear the Walking Dead until this point has been on a lag. So in my brain, that made sense. Like, who was in Texas at that time? Abraham, Eugene, like that would have made sense.
That would have made a whole lot more sense.
And then it would have given us Abraham back, and that would have been fine with that. Like, it's still not too late if they're gonna do a flashback. You know what I mean?
I was very surprised when they said that it was Morgan, but now actually, like, with the way that his arc has been in season 8, it kind of makes sense, just because of the fact that he's the only character who plausibly would just up and decide to leave the group like that, because he's done stuff like that in the past. I mean, I think it wouldn't be very believable if any of the other characters had decided to do something like that, just randomly.
He hasn't actually randomly left before.
Well, he separated himself from the group, though, purposely, and isolated himself.
Yeah, in this last episode. He hasn't done that before. Only reason why he left...
disappeared in episode 1 and didn't show up until episode 3.
No, he didn't. Well, that's not the same thing. The group didn't exist. Rick went off to go find his family, which is not the same thing as Morgan just going off and abandoning him.
Yeah.
And the only reason why he left in season 6, was to go find Carol. And that's how he ends up at the Kingdom. But, I mean, at first I was sad about Morgan leaving, but because they've made him so psychotic and crazy, and also because Lenny will get a real true time to shine on his own show.
I think he's the new Rick, and I think John is the new Daryl. Before Daryl became a douche.
Okay, we'll roll with that.
There's actually a lot of similarities between John Dory and Rick. I mean, like, they both have like cowboy hats, and they both have revolvers.
Morgan's Rick.
I know, but I think it's interesting that,
he
like,
found another cowboy friend.
Exactly. Yeah, the other guy that he like happens to like instantly form a bond with happens to be another cowboy.
Wow.
What's up with Morgan just like getting along with cowboys somehow? It's weird. He saved a cowboy in the other show, and now a cowboy's saving him. That's what it is.
Well, that makes sense, because Rick can't stop saving Morgan either. So John Dory is already on board with I gotta protect him. This is my friend. Or, well, I can't do I don't know his accent yet. But, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I like it. It's really interesting. It fascinated me. I was drawn right in, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I hope that they keep the quality level up. I hope that, like, they didn't just, like, you know, put all the good writing effort in like the first episode and then just like tanks after that. I mean, a lot of shows do that, and I'm still kind of skeptical of this because it's like such a daring and bizarre move. I mean, I can't think of another example where something like this happened where it worked. I mean, like most spin-offs are not like as good as the original, and they definitely don't last as long as the original, and they're always of lower quality than the original.
No, that is not true. They are not always lower quality than the original. Sometimes the spin-off can be better.
You're gonna bring up Buffy and Angel.
Yeah, Angel was better.
Okay.
Ended up being a better show. Ended up being more dramatic and more adult-like.
Anyway, getting back to Fear the Walking Dead, I mean, this is pretty crazy. I did not think that this was going to be possible for them to pull this off, and so far it looks like they are, and I'm excited to see. Oh, that's another good example. But it's not better than Breaking Bad.
But it's not bad.
No, it's very, very good. It's not better than Breaking Bad, though.
Well, no.
I can't wait to see what happens next. And I'm also, the one thing that I'm not clear about and that I'm having a hard time, like, figuring out how they're going to work this is, like, what are they going to do with the original characters? I mean, how do they take the original characters, which were the main characters of the show, and convert them to secondary characters?
Well, they already kind of have.
Well, in one episode, but there's also, like, a bunch of unresolved stuff.
That's setting the framework. Imagine you're watching a show for the first time because Morgan
They're just trying to attract a whole new audience, probably.
They're rebooting it. They did the same thing on Angel Season 5, or when they brought Spike into the season. It's like, well, how do we bring in new viewers without having to rehash everything else with these other people who they don't know about / don't care about?
You know, that's a good point, because actually, when you really think about it, that first episode could be understood with zero history of either show. Actually,
that's my point.
Because they put the visiting scenes of Jesus and Carol and Rick in the beginning to explain why this guy is going on the journey. Right? You don't need to know anything else except for that.
Well, no, it's unlikely that you're watching Fear the Walking Dead without watching The Walking Dead. But this was more for integrating Walking Dead viewers who have yet to watch Fear the Walking Dead or stopped watching The Walking Dead.
Because they were like, oh, this show sucks compared to the original.
So that kind of bridged the gap. Like, well, we'll just follow Morgan and make it the Morgan story. Then they'll do a flashback as to what Madison and the rest were doing all this time. Then they'll bring it back to Morgan, you know, going into this new group and what Morgan's life is like with these new people. That's the spin, which is very smart. I hope they keep it up, because if they don't keep it up, then it's going to fail.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, they need to give most of the screen time to these new characters, because I think that probably everybody likes them. And I don't think most people like the other characters.
Also, I have to say, because they call it a crossover, maybe this is just a crossover season. At the end of that season, Morgan learns something about himself and is able to go back to Alexandria. He's able to find some sort of peace.
Maybe. I mean, I would rather him stay on this show and have this show be good. That way we have 2 Walking Dead shows that are good.
That's only contingent. That is only contingent upon this show's survival, number one. And number two, if they were really smart, they wouldn't have Fear the Walking Dead be a summer season. They would play it back to back right after The Walking Dead. Boom. Because that's how you keep your viewers. They've done it with literally almost every other crossover. It was a back-to-back turn of how it aired, and it just makes more sense. If you want more rollover, have it go into the fall with The Walking Dead. Like, that just makes more sense.
Well, I think it made sense, though, the way that they did it now, because if you think about it, Season 8 of The Walking Dead, if you watch that and then start watching Fear the Walking Dead, it almost feels like one big season.
I don't disagree with that.
It picks up right where it left off.
I don't disagree with that. However, if we're talking longevity, they need to be eventually back to back. Every night, like every Sunday. Their season needs, now that the timelines are all synced up and whatever, and you're going to be referencing old stuff, they need to be back to back in order to retain that rollover that they want to maintain the show's survival, I think.
We'll have to see what happens. Anything more about Fear the Walking Dead, Morgan, and all that stuff?
No.
If you guys like our content, make sure to subscribe up here at the corner, and also like the Facebook page, Living Rochon. Also follow us on all of our channels below, and also check out the blog, theliteraryshown.com. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.